Hi guys, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program with P-Soups, and today we have a great mission planned. We're going to get into it as quickly as possible. We're going to go to the moon. Not only that, we are going to land on the moon. Not only that, we're going to come back from the surface of the moon, which is going to bring lots of science. It's going to bring some funds through a couple of missions here, and it's also going to bring Jeb home, which he's pretty happy about. So, first up, our missions: explore the moon, land on the moon. We get some funds for that. Science data from space around Kerbin. We can grab that. We can take care of that. That wasn't really planned, but it's free money. Okay, we've got explore the moon and plant flag on the moon. So we have two missions we can fulfill here. We'll worry about this one at a later date. What we are going to need, since we're landing, we're going to need to upgrade. So we right-click the Research and Development building, and we're going to upgrade it using some of the funds that we've earned. Some of that 1.1 million. We're going to spend 450,000 on upgrading the R&D department, and that will allow the collection of surface samples by kerbals on EVA, which is pretty huge when we get to landing on other bodies. So let's go ahead and upgrade that. We're going to grab some research. We do need propulsion systems. We need this for the spark engine, which is small. It doesn't put out much thrust. It's not even very efficient, but it is light, which we really need for this kind of mission. The baguette external tanks, they're also quite handy for the design. Probably could have worked around it, but hey, they look kind of cool. Other pieces, parts we need the landing struts in the landing tech node. I think that's all we need from there. Advanced flight control. We don't really need any of this, but I know that I'm going to need it soon. Miniaturization. I know that we have a stack separator. We also, these docking ports, they're going to be handy in the near future. And we want solar panels. So we're going to research that. So that's all our science spent. And now let's go take a look at the magical mystery vehicle that I've created for this mission. It's quite similar to previous missions. I've changed it up a little bit. And as you can see, we have a payload. Oh, just revealed a little bit of it there. And we'll see the rest of that later. I'm just going to tease that. We'll get to see that as the fairings are released in a very dramatic moment later on. Other than that, we have a fairly standard launch vehicle. We just have some solid rocket boosters, our 3-core liquid fuel with swivels, and I also have a Terrier with two FLT 400 fuel tanks that's going to circularize us around Kerbin and then take us out to the moon. And we have special plans for the rest of that stage before we put the lander into lunar orbit. So, with all of that said, I do have... I don't want to reveal too much of the lander. I do have a computer on board. It's a mod I just installed today. It is called KOS. And that is actually going to make launching a lot easier. I've mainly installed it so that I can get some cool shots and as I'm recording video, so that I don't have to worry about piloting it. But let's just show this off for a moment. launch file, edit launch. We're going to paste our launch file in and run launch. 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff. So, this is actually going to take us up, and it's going to pitch us over into our gravity turn. It'll take care of all of our throttling. It may go a little too fast, but I think we are pretty square with it. I think we're pretty good. So as you can see, he's pitching over there. I can actually concentrate on getting some cool shots as we blast off into space. So, as you can see, we're picking up speed here, picking up speed. The only problem with this script is that it doesn't seem to deal with throttling very well. So right here, if I was doing this manually, I would throttle back because we're losing a lot of speed due to atmospheric drag. We're losing a lot of speed due to that, but it's not a big deal because I've actually kind of compensated for it already with this stage. So it's going to go ahead and... oh, wait, it's not quite done. So if we look, he's got a pretty decent apoapsis up here. And I'm going to cut to us about to hit our apoapsis. And before we do, while we're still in the atmosphere, I'm going to blast off the fairings. Let's get rid of KOS, since that is about to be done anyway. And as we glide on up, we can actually see I've got a fair amount of fuel on here. I've got a fair amount of fuel on our lander. Normally we wouldn't require this much. Now, a couple of things that are going to require this much fuel. For one, we're taking a whole full command pod, which is pretty heavy. That's about a ton. And also a whole Science Junior, which these things, although they're not very heavy, for a small vehicle like this, they will eat up the Delta V pretty quickly, and also our heat shield. And as well as all of that, we also are going to be using just this part of the vehicle, in order to circularize around the moon. The rest of this stage is just to circularize us around Kerbin, right here. So as you can see, that did stage, so it's going to circularize us around Kerbin. But it's going to take us out to the moon. Here we go. So let's take a look. Yep, we are circularizing there. As something went wrong there. And yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't cut off in time. But these things happen. We sometimes get software bugs. Fortunately, we have plenty of fuel in this stage. We don't have to worry about that wasted Delta V. We're actually going to dump a lot of this fuel. So let's do our usual approach to the moon. That is to say, we keep the moon on the right here, and we place a maneuver node, and we push. Now there's a very, very specific, I can close this now. There's a very specific encounter with the moon that I want here. And it's actually going to be a gravity slingshot that's going to take us as far as the... and let's see if we can get it. It's kind of a balancing act between getting the periapsis... oh, that's actually quite good. Getting the periapsis just where we want it. And... okay, 20... and all I'm doing here is I'm just using the mouse wheel slowly to bring that down. 17. That's good enough. That's good enough. One more. There we go. So what's actually going to happen here is we're going to go out to the moon. As you can see, that the way it's displayed has kind of changed since last time. So we're going to go out and hit... we're going to actually hit the moon's sphere of influence. So we're going to get taken by the moon at this point, which is going to be here according to the moon. When the it's difficult to explain, but when the moon is here, that point is going to be there. So we will actually come into the moon, swing around it, and be flung off. We're not going to, but I'll explain that in a second. Our trajectory is going to take us so it flings us off and throws us not only away from the moon, but it's going to slingshot completely out of Kerbin's sphere of influence and into the orbit of the sun itself. Now, the reason I wanted to do this is because when I was originally planning this mission, I kind of wanted to do it more like the Apollo-style missions. But unfortunately, I don't have the technology for it in the tech tree yet. So I still wanted to have something of an homage, I don't know quite how to say that, an homage to the Apollo missions. And this is actually what the Apollo missions did with their second to last stage. They actually flung it into the orbit of the sun once they were done with it. They performed essentially this same kind of maneuver, 104-second burn. So we want to go at what is that? Almost 52 seconds. So we're going to want to get ourselves in place for that, which we can do here. So we are ready, and let's fire. And we're going to be firing for a short while. So yeah, this is actually what the Apollo mission did. They used this stage to get them out to the moon, and then once they were done with it, they just tossed it out and it slingshotted around the moon, exactly like we're doing today. It slingshotted and it put it out in orbit of the sun. So I wanted to do that. I actually had to change our vehicle up a little bit in order to support that, and make that possible. Put a little more delta V on our lander, because it is going to have to not only land, take off, and return to Kerbin, but it's also going to have to circularize us into the moon's sphere of influence, and that's no small task. It is no small task. We need a fair amount of fuel for that. "26 kilometers. So as we can see here, we'll be going out to the moon, encountering it, flying. After we dump our stage, it will go ahead and fly off. So it's going to follow this kind of trajectory, and then it'll fly off into orbit of the sun. And we'll review that later as we get the time. For now, we're going to go ahead and get out to the moon, and you'll be able to see what I mean. This representation of our path around the moon is just going to follow it around to show us kind of how we're going to encounter it. So there is our encounter, our periaps at 26 kilometers. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to point prograde. So point forwards and kick off. It's a whole bunch of fuel. It's a real shame to waste it. I should have put smaller tanks on there, but well, I forgot to do that. Okay, so we're just going to kick him off, and he is now locked into this trajectory right here, and he'll be orbiting the sun in honor of the Apollo missions. So for now, back in the land of the living, to make sure that we don't suffer the same fate, we're going to go ahead and plan our capture burn. Okay, so now at our periapsis, we can bring ourselves down. 11, that's a little too much. Oh, 32. Here we go. Yep, that's good enough. So we can now accelerate to our periapsis. And we don't even really need to circularize because we are pretty much going to go ahead and land in these midlands here anyway. So it's just going to be a matter. We got 275 meters per second to circularize. And as you can see, this this little engine, it's not very powerful. It's not the best engine. It is quite loud. It's not the best engine, but it is light, and we need light right now. We need every ounce of delta V, literally every ounce of delta V that we can pull out of this craft. So here we go. Our apoapsis is coming down, and I'm just going to leave it going until, yeah, I'd say maybe there. Let's go there. So now we can see, I really would like to have landed on the edge here so we can take a quick jaunt down into the crater and get more science, but I'm not going to chance that. Speaking of taking chances, I am quick saving because landing it can be quite a messy affair. So we're going to go down. We're going to let our altitude reduce slowly, slowly, slowly. And as we get a little closer to the surface, let's take a look at where we're at. No, we still have quite a ways to go. As we get closer to the surface, it seems to be getting more and more filled with craters. Okay. Let's see if we can pull this off. Now, in test runs, I happen to have had a couple of very close calls. Some have led to interesting circumstances, but I think we can make this first try. I think I can. So, we're bringing down our orbital velocity, we're bringing down our lateral velocity. So instead of going sideways, we want to be going essentially straight down is absolutely best for this. Because of course you can't really land very well if you're going sideways at the same time. So we're slowly coming down and down. Now what we can do is, if we find that we're going down, that we're falling too fast, we can just pitch straight up, and instead of cancelling the lateral velocity, that will cancel our vertical velocity. So we're down to 60 meters per second. This looks like it could be a pretty good landing. We have 1100 meters per second of delta V left. And I'm just going to try to cancel the last of our lateral velocity here. And we can see on the nav ball that we're headed straight down now. And we need gear out. And slowly bring ourselves down to the surface. And not the softest landing. And I hope he stays. Let's turn SAS off. Oh. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know what's happening. He's tilted over like this, and I don't know why. Okay, so this is quite a precarious situation that we're in. I'm not sure why we're leaning like this, but we are down. We're down on the ground. We are on the moon. So, to celebrate, we're going to do science. Let's get our material study, 100 science for that one experiment. We're going to take a crew report. Oh, there's 20 science right there. We're going to take mystery goo observations. There's another 40. I should really read some of these, since it is our inaugural landing. The fine dust of the moon has intermixed with some of the samples. You have a sneaking suspicion that they'll never be able to get the lab clean again. Now, of course, that is a reference. Let's keep that. That is a reference to moon dust being extremely fine. It's very fine, described as almost like talcum powder. And it is very difficult to wash out of things. So we'll take a temperature scan, and we can take pressure data. The pressure gauge is sitting there motionless. Perhaps you should tap it a few times to be sure. That's 48 data for us. Now, nope. Oh my goodness. I don't like this one bit, and I don't know why it's happening. It seems to me... Oh, now I'm really panicking. It seems to me like the center of gravity should really bring it down and just settle. Okay, anyway. We're just going to let that keep rocking and rolling and hope for the best. And one small fall for Jebediah, one giant leap for Kerbal kind. We're going to take a surface sample. The darker Midland surface appears to be made of basaltic rocks. It's 120 science. And we can also take an EVA report. You look up and search the sky for Kerbin. Suddenly you feel very small. Let's take a look. Is Kerbin in view? Have we lost a planet? Oh, there it is. Let's take a look at that. Oh, there's only one thing missing from this picture, of course. And that is our flag to say, we've been here. And in fact, that is what we'll put. First moon landing. And we've been here. Okay. So it's not very visible in this light. The sun is directly overhead, which actually goes against the first landing, the first Apollo landing. What they actually did was they timed it so that the sun was actually on the horizon. It was closer to the horizon, sorry, so that it cast shadows, so that they could actually see where the rocks were. If the sun was directly overhead as it is here, actually we can see in the game here, we really can't tell the depth of any of this. Now, if the sun were on the horizon, then we'd have shadows and highlights here, and so we could actually see where we were landing. I didn't have that forethought, unfortunately, and we actually landed in the worst situation. But we did get down. We've got a flag planted. We've done our research. We still have some tasks to take care of. Let's get our rocket pack on. And we have to grab this science because it is not coming all the way. Well, it's it's coming most of the way home with us. But we are going to have to, of course, dump it. Let's take that data. Did we get it? This is really, really scaring me. This is very, very precarious. Let's take the data from there. Let's collect the data from there. And of course, we sent Jeb along because piloting skills are very important on a mission like this. And if I can just get this thermometer, there we go. Okay, so that's all of our data retrieved. And if I can get... Oh, poor Jeb. Poor Jeb. Sorry, buddy. I did not mean for that to happen. Okay. There we go. Get back on. And I still have no clue why this is doing this, but we don't need to worry about it much longer because we're going to take off and just fly straight east. And let's see how we're doing. Delta V. So we're up. And we can just, once we're at a decent height, we can fly almost just parallel to the ground. So our apoapsis is going to come up 6,000, 7,000. Now it does require about anywhere from 250 to 270 delta V to return from the moon. Right now we're at 700. So we're going to have to get up, get our apoapsis up. Just as we do with Kerbin, we bring the apoapsis up. And then we circularize on that. So 13,000, 14, 15 kilometers. There we go. So now we can just warp to our apoapsis, skimming the planet, well, the satellite. The moon is not a planet. And let's add a maneuver here just to make sure we get the timing correct, because we do have to be careful about our expenditure. We really have nothing to We don't have the fuel to waste here if we do things incorrectly. So there we go. There's our maneuver node. And delta V is down to 410, 400. So we've done quite well here. And we are orbital. So we're in orbit of the moon. We're going to do the same thing as we did last time in order to return. We're going to go as low as possible. We're going to take as little delta V as possible. So let's add a maneuver, expand it until we get something close to what we want. And then let's get rid of you for a second. And then we can move this around to time our departure to get the best value out of our delta V. And it looks like that might be it. That's 60,000. Oh, that's too much. 21. 25. So we're looking for about 35, 33. There we go. That is good. 34. There we go. Okay. So let's get to our departure point over here. And head back home. So we'll just do one more burn and we will be good to go. In practice runs of this mission, trying to get the craft right and all of that fun stuff, one of them I wish I'd have been recording. I had to pull a very silly kerbal stunt and push the vehicle essentially just enough to get back down to Kerbin. So, welcome back. I wasn't paying attention, and yeah, I was in kind of a bad situation there for a second, but we made it out with all of our parts intact. I will see you guys on the ground. And here we are, and we actually landed on solid ground. So let's do some science while we're here, because we should be able to take a surface sample. We can grab an EVA report. We can probably even I realized that I didn't actually take this data from the moon. So let's store those, jump inside and take more readings. Oh, I think I already did that one. Okay, 3.6 there. Okay, that's plenty. And we'll recover the vessel and see what we did with our science. And another doozy of a day. 446 science earned for that one trip to just one biome on the moon, just one area. We can still get essentially that same amount of science from the lowlands, the midlands, the highlands, all of the different craters. We just have to go and grab that at some point. So we've also fulfilled a couple more contracts. We've got 1.1 million again, and Jeb has gained more experience. So that is us. We've got those missions taken care of. We've been to the moon and back, and now to see what we can do with that research in the next episode. For now, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed our little excursion, and I will see you again next time. Okay, so we're just going to kick him off. Haha. Good one, guys. You can come back now. Guys? Where are you going? Where am I going? Oh no. Well, I think they actually did it this time. Bugger.